we used to have one-hit wonders. Like, we used to, as a culture, like, have one-hit wonders.
People would have a song or two, and we never hear from them again. And we never wondered where they were.
And you know what? I love those one-hit wonders.
In this hectic music landscape, there's always talk about flop eras and streaming numbers and the infamous Kia Asylum. But if I'm being real, I'm wondering, what happened to the one-hit wonder? What happened to enjoying when someone really captured the sound of the moment and then moving on? My esteemed guest today has some insight into why this expectation has changed. Music writer Brittany Spanos, also known as Britpop on Substack, has zeroed in on the millennial zeitgeist artist. Think about acts like Lizzo or Katy Perry, who had a defining sound in the 2010s, but can't seem to find that same traction now. Are we seeing a generational shift in music? Or with legacy acts like Madonna making a comeback, I wonder, what is the secret recipe to pop star staying power? Brittany joins the show to help me figure it all out. Brittany, welcome back to It's Been a Minute.
Thanks for having me.
Hello, hello. I'm Brittany Luce, and you're listening to It's Been a Minute from NPR, a show about what's going on in culture and why it doesn't happen by accident. I am really excited to dig into some big existential questions we've been having in pop music recently, of which you are an expert. But I want to start by talking about something that is a favorite of yours. You've written a lot about millennial zeitgeist artists, and I want to dig into one in particular people have been talking and thinking a lot about lately, even if they haven't been listening to this person's music. Yeah. And that's Lizzo. You know, in light of the abysmal performance, frankly, of her most recent album, which is called Bitch, it sold less than 3,000 copies in its first week. And if you compare that to the 69,000 copies that, you know, her last album sold in its first week, that's a big drop off. I mean, Lizzo used to be everywhere, but now not as much. Like, she is famous, yes. Like, we also know who she is, yes. But she's not as culturally omnipresent or dominant as she was before. A lot of people are theorizing as to why no one is buying her music. You know, even Lizzo herself, like, she recently went on the Swiftologist, like, video interview show. It seems like she's trying to maybe perhaps own what might seem like a public failure, but through, like, kind of trying to control the narrative. But it's something about it just feels kind of off. But I wonder, like, why do you think she's fallen out of favor?
You know, Lizzo had been a performing artist for years before Truth Hurts and Good as Hell came out. She was, you know, in more of the underground music scene in Minneapolis. She was one of Prince's, like, collaborators towards the end of his life. Like, you know, she was someone who had been hustling for a long time. And the reason why people fell in love with her at that time was not only, it was before even Truth Hurts took off. You know, I remember watching this kind of wave of virality with her, with kind of her funny videos and that personality kind of popping out. And she was, like, charming and cool and, like, had cool fashion. And also, like, she didn't look like every other pop star. Like, she, to a lot of people, was a representation of something that we don't see in music, which is a larger bodied woman generally, but a larger bodied Black woman being sexy and, like, dancing and, like, not just, like, standing in a gown and, like, singing the way that we kind of see a lot of women who are plus size in pop culture and music perform. So, you know, there was something really powerful and radical about that. And then Truth Hurts is super catchy, and it became really big a couple years after it came out. Same with Good as Hell. There was, like, a real charm to that story and a real charm to what she represented, I think, to people. So the combination of the lawsuit, of course, coming to light that her backup dancers had alleged that she had harassed them, had said things about their bodies, like the very specific allegations in the lawsuit went so much against what people loved about her in such a big way. On top of that, like, she's been very public about saying, like, she's past the body positivity movement and now to body neutrality. And so, you know, I think for a lot of people, it was a little bit of a brand betrayal. I think also the music that she was making, it's out of fashion. You know, she hasn't really moved with how genre works now and what's popular and what's happening. People want something a little messier, a little realer, or they want country music. Like, it's really kind of one or the other right now.
No, you're absolutely right.
You got to get into your like brat mode, or you got to get into like your like choosing Texas mode. Like, it's really, you know, one or other for kind of like the pop conversation in this moment.
I think something really key that you said is that like Lizzo's music is not matching up with the times right now. Like in my opinion, not everyone is meant to be a huge pop star for decades. It reminds me of like Katy Perry. Like, Katy Perry tried to come back in 2024.
Yeah.
Sexy, confident, woman's world. And it was like people were like, ooh, this feels like something out of 2012 or 2014. And it just felt so out of sync with the times. I don't know. I wonder, like, talk to me more about this idea that Lizzo's music might be past its prime. Do you see it as something kind of inherent to her brand, or do you see it as something that maybe she could go back in the lab and come up with something else that might be more suited to today?
For Lizzo, I think, again, the music is not like growing and changing in the way that I think people wanted to see. And I don't know if you listened to her mixtape from last year. My face hurts from smiling.
I listened to some of it. Yeah,
I was like, that I found so much more interesting. Like, it was really kind of, there was like a harshness to it. It reminded me so much of her early music. She was rapping. Like, I was like, that should have been the album. That should have been the focus. Like, she had all these great features on it. It was like really fun. And I'm like, that's great. And I think there's so much of this new album that's really transparently trying to make another hit, right? Like, all these songs are so they sound expensive, but they're like really trying to kind of become like a zeitgeisty song. They're trying to become an Instagram caption. They're trying to become a TikTok viral like sound. But I think the problem with this too is like, we used to have one-hit wonders. Like, we used to, as a culture, like, have one-hit wonders.
People would have a song or two, and we never hear from them again. And we never wondered where they were.
And you know what? I love those one-hit wonders. All of those one-hit wonders rocked. And it's okay if that's it, and sometimes it's okay for that to be, like, the moment from your career. And obviously, Lizzo's had more than one hit. But I think in culture now and how it works, especially with the internet and with how fandom works.
An army of stans that never dies.
Right. Like, it never goes away. It's like kind of this demand that you're sort of in this like flop to non-flop kind of like ratio, like whatever level. And, in some ways that has been positive for artists. Like, again, we've seen so many artists over the last few years be on their like fifth album and finally have a big hit.
It feels like we're at a crucial turning point with regard to the aging millennial pop girlies. And I do not say that as a dig because I am an aging millennial media girly. Okay. But they're largely heading out of the pop zeitgeist moment and on to the next phase of their careers. Like, Beyonce is soon going to release Act 3, and it seems to me and most of the public that she's kind of saying like, hey, I'm going to release this, I'm going to tour, and then after that, maybe the next time you see me, I'll be a legacy act. Rihanna has more or less retired. Ariana Grande is like really turning toward movies to Hollywood. Obviously, she's on tour right now, and she's got this album that's coming out in July or whatever, or has come out, depending on when this airs. Taylor Swift has gotten married, and that kind of closes the loop narratively on 20 years, really, since her first album came out, of singing about getting her happily ever after. And now in their place, there's all these newer girls: Olivia Rodrigo, Chappell Roan, Doechii, Charlie XCX, Sabrina Carpenter, people that even if I say their names to my parents, they know who they are. These girls are in the zeitgeist now, right? I wonder, do you think what's happening with Lizzo could simply just be a generational tide turning?
Yeah. I mean, I think also with Lizzo, like, she was a little bit older when that sort of moment happened for her versus like a lot of those artists that you're describing were teen stars. Like, they have been working since they were, 13, 14, 15. Someone like, Beyonce, obviously, like a kid, like, she'd been training for this since she was a child. I think there's a little bit of a moment with most of those artists where I wonder how much of it is just literally fatigue. Like, I've already been working for 20 plus years, in some cases 30 years, touring constantly, being this hustle. The industry has never changed more quickly in the last 2 decades. It's a lot of those artists either started right as physical media sort of started to become non-existent, or just as streaming was just starting to become a thing. So they had to maintain in a way that other artists in previous eras didn't have to think about or didn't have to keep up with. So they had to learn in that real time that the money was now coming from touring and from the merchandising and from doing other things.
I wonder if like the hand-wringing and discussion around what's going on with Lizzo's career is bigger than the actual like footprint of her music right now. And I wonder if like part of that is not just about her. Like what if we're really talking about ourselves, like our own sort of mortality and our own sort of millennial anxiety?
Yeah.
Is that in here factoring possibly anywhere?
Yeah, I mean, no one wants to be a flop, no one wants to feel like their time is done. But I don't like, I think there's a finality to how we talk about these things sometimes, especially because it's like stan culture online is so toxic and like everything's like, okay, you didn't sell enough or you're selling less than last time. And obviously this was a pretty significant drop versus like a single, like not doing super well compared to the last single, right? But like, we are in a culture where it never really is over and those chances continue to exist. So, I think we sort of yearn to watch someone fail in a way. Like we kind of like watching the women fail in some way too. Like with it, I think there's a lot of that actually, like in terms of pop culture and how we think of female pop stars and how we kind of monitor their success a little bit more than we monitor the men's success. But, I think that's a part of it too.
Someone who has absolutely no problem, right, riding generational tides is Madonna. Madonna was lit and popping before I was born.
Yeah.
And she is still lit and popping today. And she has been that way for like decades. I mean, I wouldn't say that maybe like, I don't know, her last album was like at the center of the zeitgeist by any means. But she has kept herself relevant and has ridden this stuff out. I mean, you've actually declared this summer, 2026, a Madonna summer. I mean, she's got a new album, Confessions 2, that just came out. And I got to say, I mean, even outside, even before that album came out, I have been having a Madonna summer this year. I've been bumping Ray of Light. I've been bumping Confessions on a Dance Floor. I've been bumping American Life.
Oh, I've been really
baby.
bumping American Life.
It's so clear at how great she is at continuing to feel fresh and contemporary, even more than 40 years into her music career. Why is she so good at moving with the zeitgeist, or even sometimes setting the zeitgeist? And what skills are crucial to making that happen?
I think with someone like Madonna, the thing with her is perfection is never the goal. I think that is a big part of it. I think a lot of pop stars want to present images of perfection now, right? They want to have a very pristine kind of record because like people online like are gonna, it's like the kind of weird sort of like your fave is problematic
Receipts
post.
culture.
Yeah, like receipts culture.
Yeah.
It's never been about that for her. And I think that's kind of the joy and the way that she has moved and why it's worked is because there's never been a shroud of needing to like present an image of the perfect woman or the perfect pop star or the perfect dancer, the perfect singer, the perfect songwriter. It's all been about experimentation. And, I think all those albums that you just listed, they're so different from one to the other and already were pretty radical because this was a woman who was like a pop star who was on stage, like buffer than ever, has kids, like is like, was already allowing herself to age in the public eye in a way that many pop stars to that point had never really had the chance. And like without, going away for a really long time, like a Cher or a Tina Turner, right? Like they disappeared and out of like real crazy stuff happening in their lives. And like, they had to disappear and then come back, and they had to disappear and they had to come back, or they had to reinvent in some way. Madonna just consistently reinvented. She consistently changed the lines of what a pop star is supposed to be, how a woman ages, how a woman presents herself, like, and wasn't scared to like try something new. Like trying out like an American Life is like a weird album. Like it's a weird album.
It's weird.
So strange.
So weird.
It's like the strangest album.
But it works.
It works so well. And like it's fun. It's like kind of political, like in a Madonna way, where it's like, what are you saying? Like it's like
incoherent.
Super incoherent, like just so strange, but it works.
We're going to take a quick break, but first, if you're a longtime listener or brand new to It's Been a Minute, be sure to come back every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday for brand new episodes. And did you know you can make it even easier to get new episodes by hitting the follow or subscribe button on your favorite podcast app? Whether you're a new friend or a loyal bestie, join the team by subscribing today. Coming up after the break,
like a Billie Eilish or an Olivia Rodrigo are taking off in the way they do because they're kind of a little bit more direct about like this world is kind of bad right now and like things kind of suck.
Stick around.
This message comes from Cook Unity, the first chef-led meal delivery service where every meal is handcrafted in local micro-kitchens, not mass-produced in large facilities. With hundreds of dishes to choose from and over 10 different dietary preferences like high protein, low sodium, GLP-1, and more. Taste what happens when real award-winning chefs make fresh, small-batched meals just for you. Go to cookunity.com/minute or enter code MINUTE before checkout to get 50% off your first order.
This message comes from MIDI Health, a virtual care platform for women in perimenopause and menopause. CEO Joanna Strober shares the mission behind working with women in midlife.
It's not just about hormones. It's not just about weight loss medications. We are very much a holistic care platform, and our job is to figure out whatever medications are appropriate for you and offer you those medications.
MIDI Health, committed to helping women in midlife with perimenopause and menopause care, accessible via telehealth visits at joinmidi.com.
Support for this NPR podcast and the following message come from Carvana. Selling your car? Carvana has offers so good, they're almost inexplicable. Sell your car 100% online in minutes. Visit Carvana.com today.
Hi, it's Terry Gross, host of Fresh Air. Hey, take a break from the 24-hour news cycle with us and listen to long-form interviews with your favorite authors, actors, filmmakers, comedians, and musicians, the people making the art that nourishes us and speaks to our times. So listen to the Fresh Air podcast from NPR and WHYY.
Honestly, I do not like this man. Don't get it twisted. I don't really listen to his music at all. But Kanye West also, like in his prime, was also very good at doing that as well, sort of giving us like a slightly different sound. Right. It was kind of like, what? Thinking about like all these soul samples in all these albums, and then suddenly coming out with Yeezus, which is most stripped down, like chromatic, like just, literally, thinking of like actual chrome. Like it just felt so metallic and like spacious and just totally different than what he had done before. And it was not what everybody else was doing at that moment. And it wasn't like it was like a total reversal of where we were at the time, but it was just that crucial few steps ahead that Madonna and Rihanna are also really good at doing that would sort of like pull us into the next moment.
So much of, I think, the artists that we connect to and the moments we connect with them most are those moments. Like I think of like a Beyonce Lemonade where it's like that breaking, both the self-titled and the Lemonade, where I'm like the breaking down of the Beyonce persona, which we'd just seen like Sasha Fierce, like before then, like that persona within a persona, as someone who's
the strongest woman, like the strongest
otherworldly,
who's in the most perfect marriage,
like, she's like, she's presented herself because she's her talent is so beyond. It's like the presentation of that talent was very removed from the almost like human aspect of Beyonce, and for her to open up in that way at that time in her career was shocking, and beautiful. And like those are two albums I think everyone really connects to and really loves so much because that broke down the facade and broke down the kind of the wall that she had needed to probably build up when you're famous as a teenager and become very famous and enter a marriage with like a very famous man and have to live your life in this very specific way.
Yeah. That's such a good point. Like taking someone, it's like we either need to be brought along into the future or brought along on your journey. One of the two things has to happen. Or else it's kind of like we're kind of looking at like, I don't know, it's kind of like, cool, who are you? Like I've moved on into a different phase of my life. Are you in this new phase with me? When I look at the artists who have staying power, I often notice there's also like a deep curiosity there and a capacity for change. Like the deep curiosity feels like it spurs their capacity for change. Like I'm thinking of obviously, Madonna or even someone like Prince. They didn't keep trying to remake like a Virgin, Purple Rain. Like they evolved into a different sound, into making some other sort of statement. Are there millennial pop stars that you think are evolving in a way that feels interesting and authentic? Like I wonder what makes them so good at doing it, whereas like other artists seem to not be nailing it.
Yeah, I've always said that our most enduring artists are nerds. And it's like it's nerds on different levels, right? Like I think Beyonce isn't necessarily like seen as like a singer-songwriter, right? She's obviously such a great sort of curator and producer within the studio. But that's because she's a huge nerd, and she's a huge nerd about music, about pop culture. Even if you just look at this 3-act project, we don't know what the third act yet but we kind of know what the third act is. But like, yeah. But like, you know, doing the dance music project with Renaissance, which is such a huge nerdy project about the history of Black culture in dance music and Black and queer culture within dance music that spanned from disco to house music. That's nerdy. That's like a super nerdy thing to do. Like the country, I was like, it's like, it's all very nerdy stuff. I mean, Taylor Swift, huge nerd. Like she is a huge songwriting nerd. Like she is one of the nerdiest pop stars we have ever had, ever. And like, that is like Prince, huge nerd.
Yeah.
That is such an essential core part of what makes a great pop star, because it's a nerd on every level. It's Beyonce is a huge nerd about the performance history.
Yes.
Michael Jackson, huge nerd about performance history. Like it's like, literally, you are studying every minute. And I think that there are so many great examples, and why we've had so many millennial pop stars who have kind of stayed for a while, you know, is because they are like huge nerds. Like it's Taylor, Beyonce, Lady Gaga, huge nerd.
Yeah.
You know, I think Drake to a level for a while was a huge nerd, then kind of got weird. I felt like a nerdiness from him for a minute. And then like, I think now he's like too thirsty to stay young in a way that goes against him, which I think all of them kind of have, but his is a little more like, let's grow up, you know?
Yeah, that's such a good point. I mean, okay, thinking like going back to sort of the people of our generation and all of our, whether we are regular people or pop stars, all of us kind of struggling with our place in the world and being sort of like, you know, pushed up into middle age as like a new generation comes to prominence.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. One thing that I think like defines millennial pop music is its optimism. You know, I think like Obama era hopecore. Like I think about, listen, Party in the USA by Miley Cyrus. Baby, I still sing that song today. I love that. When that comes on, I'm losing my mind. Beyonce, Run the World. You know what I mean? Like all of these, oh my God, I think about Black Eyed Peas, Where is the Love? Like all of these like very optimistic sort of songs. These are all kind of coded with the message that like positive change is on the horizon, or like life can be beautiful, you know, when you start a new adventure. Like there is just this like this hope, this blinding hope that's coming through in all of those. I mean, now we live in a very different time. Like, you know, one where that kind of messaging is falling flat. It's falling flat politically. It's falling flat culturally. Because we as like a people, at least in America, we have seen the failure of that particular brand of optimism, I think. You know, the earnestness of millennials has been kind of replaced by this like more detached, deadpan, like less people-pleasing vibe. Like, are there artists that you think are in better dialogue with this particular vibe? And in general, I wonder, how can artists or pop stars like respond to the times in a way that feels real?
Yeah, I mean, I think about this all the time because I have such a strange relationship with the idea of like what we kind of want a pop star's message to be outside of the music. And it's such a weird relationship where I'm like, I don't know. Listen, I love Taylor Swift. I love Beyonce. I listen to them all the time, but I'm like, they don't know what's going on in my life. We're in different monetary tiers, you know, like what works for them does not work for me.
Very true.
Vice versa. Like I don't think they are going to like, we're not in the same political boat, you know? But like, yeah, there's such an interesting thing where I'm seeing with like, especially the younger artists and younger pop stars and young music fans is like, there's so much, it's very warranted and clear nihilism from like, just like existing. Like we were kind of the millennial pop movement was like the we're going to live forever type of music for a while. And then it's kind of like, we're not now. Like everyone's just kind of like, we got another good 15, 20 years on this planet before it like burns up. Like everyone's kind of like in a different boat now. I mean, their music is still entrenched in that. There is like a little bit of that hopelessness I think people feel right now within their music. So yeah, it's very interesting. Because even within that sort of like, we're going to live forever moment, it's still like, there's still like a lot of stuff that people were responding to, as whether it's like Occupy Wall Street or climate change or things like that. Like that was all still happening in under the shadow of the huge, like I think of that EDM pop boom at that moment, you know, it's like those things were all happening at the same time. So, you know, I don't know if it's always going to catch up or pop stars are always going to figure out the best way to respond. I think we're kind of stuck in a loop of pop stars never really knowing how to keep up or respond to it. But also, their experiences of life are meant to be like sort of a performance of a certain type of thing that people are aspiring to.
Yeah, like they're at the end of the day, they're not just like us. And we kind of don't want them to be. We kind of don't want them to be.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I think people do, but then it's like it doesn't it's like impossible to have that relate on a mass level and then they can maintain that forever, you know. They can't maintain that relatability for very long if that relatability has like a mass following and a mass consumerism attached to it.
Oh my gosh, Brittany, you've given me so much to think about today. I so appreciate this conversation, and you've helped me deal with some of, I think, my own millennial malaise. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
That was music writer and writer of Britpop on Substack, Brittany Spanos. This episode of It's Been a Minute was produced by
Alexis Williams.
This episode was edited by
Nina Patak.
Our supervising producer is
Cher Vincent.
Our executive producer is
Barton Girdwood.
Our VP of programming is
Yolanda Sanguini.
All right, that's all for this episode of It's Been a Minute from NPR. I'm Brittany Luce. Talk soon.
President Trump says the ceasefire with Iran is over. This week on Consider This, a former high-ranking U.S. diplomat shares his thoughts on what could happen next.
The rulers in Tehran clearly believe they have a stronger will than the United States. I don't think there are any good options.
That's this week on Consider This. You can get the full story behind the headlines every afternoon. Listen on the NPR app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Each story you hear on Planet Money starts with a question. What happens if we refund tariffs? Why are groceries so expensive? At NPR, we stand for your right to be curious because the forces shaping our world can be hard to see. Follow NPR's Planet Money wherever you get your podcasts and start seeing how the economy really works.
The Emmy nominations are here. We're unpacking record-breaking nominations for Hacks, plus a big day for The Pit and newcomers like Widow's Bay. We'll talk about some snubs and make some early predictions of who will win. Listen to Pop Culture Happy Hour via the NPR app or wherever you get your podcasts.